People do look at me like we're crazy. You know, when you tell them, when you go back to, you know, we're from Buffalo, New York, right?
Yeah.
We go back to Buffalo, and most people think, you know, you're going to Puerto Rico to get away from the weather in Buffalo, right? It's 20 degrees and, you know, snowing every day.
And you do come here to get away from
I
it.
sure do. I sure do. Right.
And we found a project that we're involved in now that's going really well, by the way.
And one thing you guys did for me was the introductions. Now we know a dozen people. We're part of, you know, we do the deal makers when we come to town, Saturday morning.
But to your story, you actually came to Puerto Rico, you looked at a bunch of our videos, you drove around the island and made sure that that the places existed that we had put out the videos about, right? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk with Josh Cohen. Josh is my greatest success story from this YouTube channel, actually, and I'm going to have Josh tell kind of our origin story about how we met, because I think it's a pretty cool story and pertains to you guys that watch this channel. We affectionately call Josh and his guys the Buffalo Boys or the Cohen brothers. But I don't know if you knew that.
Either one's good.
But whenever we're talking about Josh coming to town, we're like, oh yeah, the guys from Buffalo are coming, and it's always a lot of fun to have them here. And you were originally a guy who saw the channel, and then you came back, and we ended up doing some stuff. I invite partnerships, and so say hi to everybody, and then maybe let's talk about your origin. How did we get into business together and that kind of stuff? And then we'll jump into other stuff.
All right. So yeah, I made a go at Puerto Rico about 3 years ago on my own. Knew nobody from the island. Me and two guys jumped on a flight, got an Airbnb, and within the first 3 hours of being here, realized how tough it is to get into real estate compared to what we're used to, you know, back on mainland. One of the biggest things that, you know, I found out quickly was there's really no buyer's agent, right? Normally, you know, in New York, you can call a buyer's agent. They'll show you 20 properties in a day.
Yeah.
Not the case here, right? So we don't know the area. We don't know anybody on here. No connections. It was 5 days, and we chalked it up to a beautiful vacation on a beautiful island, you know.
Yeah.
Went home, unsuccessful, and, you know, that was it. We just chalked it up as, you know.
You decided probably not for me.
Not for me, right.
Okay.
About a year later, I'm at the gym and I'm going on YouTube, and, you know, something made me put in Puerto Rico real estate. The first one was, I think you titled it, I'm breaking into my lawyer's office.
Don't give up, Ari. You can do it.
I don't know if you remember that one. It was about 2 years ago, and it was a building you were buying. And
oh yeah,
I think you bought it with one of your partners, Ari.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and
Yep. So then I went down the YouTube, rabbit hole and watched all your videos, and I called my buddy Will, who I went to Puerto Rico with a year previously, and I sent him a bunch of your videos, and I said, we're going to make another go at it, but we're going to get in contact with Robbie, because back when you were doing those videos, you were leaving your email address at the end of each video. So I was like, okay, you know, fair enough. And it was in the, the little, in the bottom of the, captions. And sure enough, I emailed you, and within a day, you emailed me back and said, let's have lunch. Yeah. And the rest is history.
Yeah, well, the history. So, that video you're talking about was one of our first go at a shorts, right? And we pounded on the lock. We're trying to break the thing, and I did it for like 3 or 4 different 1-minute videos, and then finally there was an engineer in the group. He's like, "Hey, I think we could just lift this thing off the hinges." So we popped it up off the hinges, and that's how we got in. We never broke the lock.
Right.
So it was tough.
Just took the door off.
Took the door off. And but to your story, you actually came to Puerto Rico. You looked at a bunch of our videos. You drove around the island and made sure that that the places existed that we had put out the videos about. Right. You kind of checked us out, and then we went and had lunch, and we looked at some things to do together. Right. And we found a project that we're involved in now that's going really well, by the way. And now you're invested with Zachary on the Cogwas deal, which I'm sort of in because it was my building, and I sold it to you guys with some creative financing, and hopefully we're going to do some other stuff.
Absolutely,
and, yeah. Even one that we've been working on is this thing in Isla Verde that I've had this title problem on it, it looks like maybe that's going to clear itself up, and
good.
And hopefully we'll still be able to do that one.
Great.
So
Great.
I absolutely am in love with that project, and it's a hospitality. It checks all the boxes of what we are looking for, A+ real estate that we can put in Act 60. The only thing it doesn't meet is opportunity zone stuff. So, but you know about that one. So tell us about your experience now on the island, because I think what you've done, what you sort of alluded to, is you came to the island and found some people that were doing things,
right,
and announced yourself, and then said, let's partner.
Right. And one thing you guys did for me was the introductions. Now we know a dozen people. We're part of, we do the deal makers when we come to town, Saturday morning. We're in all the WhatsApp group. So you end up, just finding like-minded people. Once you tell everybody what you're looking to do, and I mean, you know better than anybody, this whole group that you guys have created and all your network of now thousands of people are just so willing to help.
Yeah.
Wherever they can add value,
That, so for real, that's what I've learned. That's been my big takeaway from being in Puerto Rico for 5 years. I came from Florida, where it was very much our business. We had business friends that we were sort of fighting against, for the same leads or the same house, the same projects. Here we would just buy it together, right? We would just be like, oh, let's not have the headache. We'll just buy it at a great price. We'll do it together. We'll all make money. And that has been a change in the way that I do business in Puerto Rico. And I call it you take what the island gives you, but what I've learned about is how to partner with people on kind of a scale. And we use partnerships to scale our business, and we're able to do more because we do what you said. We try and give value where we can and introduce people to everybody. And I'm friends with all of these people. I'm rooting for them. I want them to succeed,
Right.
And I think that's sort of your business model as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you guys have the abundance mentality, just like we do, where not everybody's out to get each other. There's enough to go around. Like you said, we'll partner, we'll do something, Yeah. And me and my whole group, that's what we really like about everybody here, Yeah.
There's a ton of talent in Puerto Rico, guys, and there is a ton of distressed real estate. So if you're a value-add real estate investor and you like the idea of teaming up with people where 1 + 1 equals like 10, this is the place to be. So tell me about kind of what you're up to next, what you're looking for, and I think I have an idea, and I think it lines up with what we're doing. But what is your next kind of investment going to look like on the island?
Yeah, definitely tourism.
Yeah.
That way we can do with the, Act 60. And, really anything above seven units. We've been looking at some stuff with you. We've been looking at some stuff with Zach. One of your other friends, Imran, we've been looking at as well. And, we'll always look at everything. We come down, about every 2 months. So, we always let you guys know, have coffee, we go have lunch and dinner and, see what's new and exciting. And
your group has grown, I think, too, from first time.
Yeah, we're at 6 guys now.
Okay.
So at first it was just me and Will.
Yep.
Then we added a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. And now those 6 are now getting also guys that are interested.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure the next time we'll probably bring somebody new down and,
That's amazing. That's what I like to hear. It's like you're not just keeping it to yourself. You go back home and you let people, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, well, I'm investing in Puerto Rico. Why the hell are you doing that? Right. And then it's a good story. There's good reason to be investing here.
People do look at me like we're crazy. When you tell them, when you go back to, we're from Buffalo, New York, right?
Yeah.
We go back to Buffalo, and most people think, you're going to Puerto Rico to get away from the weather in Buffalo, right? It's 20 degrees and, snowing every day.
And you do come here to get away from it.
I sure do. But yeah, they say, I go, oh, no, it's for work, work and pleasure. But, we do some investing down there. And then it starts a half-hour conversation on what? They're confused, right? And a lot of times people, if you say, oh, do you want to come down with me? Maybe you'd like to invest. A lot of people do get nervous, and they're filled with fear, which is, natural.
Yeah.
But I think once we do bring everybody down and they start to see, you can physically walk the properties that you guys are renovating. You can see it go from a shell to a finished product. and you see some of the high-end finishes you guys are using in the Airbnbs, and see some deals that have been completed, not just everything under construction.
Right.
And that gains a lot of credibility. Yeah.
And it will with you as well with your projects. Like you can now, if you do bring people, hopefully you're taking them to our 609 project and showing them, and as we complete floors,
right,
and start. And did you know that we have renters coming in there for the tune of $14,000 a month for the next 5 months? We're renting to a basketball team on the 3rd floor, so we're about.
I didn't know that. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool
great
stuff. And then as we finish out the next floor and then the next, these revenues should just increase. So
great.
Anyway, I just throwing that in because you're in that deal, and I thought about
that's great.
I thought that you should know. Let's jump back in this spot. So you talked about at the very start of this that the first time you came, it was very difficult to go out and actually look at real estate for sale. Maybe there's not much data, but definitely there's not the same kind of systems in place that you would find in New York, where you can call a buyer's agent and they tell you about everybody's stuff that's for sale.
Right.
So, and we did this when we first came to the island as well. We tried to find people who were kind of in the know and then partner with those people. And I think you've done an excellent job of putting yourself together with people who are in the know and then invite them to show you deals. And I know you've done it with myself, with Zachary. There were some guys out in Fajardo that you thought about doing some business with, and I don't know if that happened, but tell people, how that kind of works here, because this is different than wherever they're from. This is a very different system, and it doesn't matter where you're from. It's just different.
Oh, very different. And even just like we're used to, especially being in New York, highly regulated.
Yeah.
That is not, and highly documented. That is not a thing here, right?
Right.
Trying to look up anything on the internet as far as, a parcel, a property, near impossible.
Right. That's a fair statement.
Yep. So this is, and I like it how it is now that I know what you have to do, but it's a very personal, business here. Yep. Because you have to, we were just talking before this interview about you have to be there talking with them in person, shaking their hands, if you want to buy a property from, a local investor or a local family, you have to be here and you have to, be in front of them. It's a very, personal interaction here.
That's for sure. You'd better get to know the seller. Or they're going to sell to someone that they know better than you. I mean, that's just how this works here.
Right.
This is very much relationship. They call it relationship island for a reason, right?
Yeah. So, and everything's relationship driven here.
Yeah.
And we were blessed to meet all of you guys, and then you introduced us to 20 more people, and and then it spirals, and you make friends. I mean, it's if nothing else, that's what I even said. If nothing else, if we never did one deal with you, Zach, everybody, we would have at least stayed in contact, came to the island. But luckily, we were able to do deals. And the returns, obviously, that's why you're here. The returns in Puerto Rico are, much higher than what I would be getting in, let's say, Buffalo.
I think you can compare the returns are kind of greater on the investments. And then your money goes a lot further too. So if you are to sell a single family home in Buffalo, you probably could come and buy 3 here in Puerto Rico.
Right.
Similar type neighborhoods. And if you're selling a high-end house in Buffalo, come buy 2 or 3 high-end houses here. If you're selling a low-end house in Buffalo, come buy 3 or 4 or 5 low-end houses here. I mean, your money goes much further. The expectation of the returns is far greater. Like for us, at least, I was seeing in Florida, we were buying things where our best case scenario was to maybe make 20%.
Right.
And if you mess that up, and guys, nothing ever goes perfectly. So you fight like hell to make 20% and you end up making 15%. It's okay, but it's not super exciting. Here, we sort of have a floor at like 35 or 40% on a flip, and there's a lot more upside. So we consider it screwed up if we make 40%. Like we really messed that up, right?
Right. Almost every deal here, when we pencil them out, are home runs.
Home runs.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, what I'm actually doing now, when I pencil these deals out that you guys are showing me, I don't even take the tax credit really into account. I treat that. Does the deal pencil without the tax credit at a high yield? And then that way, when you do get the tax credit 3 years down the road, or and then it's bonus, and then that's how you get those exponential 3 times multiple on your money, you know, right? I mean,
absolutely.
At least that's how I look at it.
That's definitely the right way to look at it.
Yeah.
So two things that we do for sure on every deal is that we try to buy at a price that's on, say like for the place that we are here, this was an office. This was an abandoned office in an abandoned office building that had very little value. It had sat empty for 10 or 15 years. And so we buy it based on that valuation, which is very low. And then we turn it into something that we're able to put on Airbnb.
Right.
Our return or expected return on office that we bought at the right price was maybe $600 a month. Our expected return on this place through nightly rentals is like $4,500 to $6,000 a month.
Right.
So we could even be buying at full value on the old style property, but by changing the use, it just goes through the roof, right? And so this isn't Act 60 or anything else. This is just invest a little money and get some nightly returns, hopefully, and make a bunch of money. So, and you can do that across the board on all asset classes, right? Like you can buy mixed use buildings and turn them into hotels. You could buy old strip malls and turn them into something else, you know? So
Right.
That's I know you. So you're heavily invested in the restaurant business back home.
Oh yes,
and we like food here too.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I make the move down here permanently, that would be probably the first thing I would set up is probably start purchasing some restaurants in this area.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've thought about moving. I have 2 kids. They're 10 and 11, so they still have 7 years left of high school. But this would definitely be where I would move to. Yeah. For my next move, and I think there actually is a big need for a lot of these businesses. Even obviously after the hurricane, a lot of them were forced to shut down. Rebuilding a restaurant super costly. And as we know, the insurance money didn't quite come through for a lot of them.
Or at least it didn't come through in any kind of timely fashion. Like people are getting their Maria money now, and we're 5 years after the storm, right?
And in the restaurant business or any retail, any
business,
business, you can't wait 5 years.
Yeah.
For your money to rebuild.
Absolutely.
I mean, so but as the island keeps growing, so does the need for restaurants and more retail, and that's what I would definitely, if I moved here, that's what my focus would for sure be, is commercial real estate and restaurants for sure.
And I mean, I encourage you to invest in some of that stuff now. Maybe we've got some buildings we could partner on, and you could help some local entrepreneur start a restaurant. But I think you'd be hitting it really well 5 or 6 years from now, 7 years from now, as they're going to double the amount of tourists that come to the island between now and then. Like 6 years from now, we won't be at 6% of the GDP as far as tourism goes. It'll be up there around 12, and they're still going to be pushing to go further than that. Gotcha. So it's, all of that stuff relates to each other, right? Like, so the more people that fly in here, the more people that need to eat at your restaurant, the more restaurants we need to provide for them. So I love thinking about what's going to happen 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years out, because on the island, we have some massive upside still, some really big upside.
And that's what's exciting for us in our group is, 10 years, after they're stabilized, the renovation has been completed for years. They're fully stabilized. Tax credits have been, issued and everything. We're not even talking about if we ever do sell, or refinance, because obviously lending is getting a little bit better on the island, which I've even seen, in let's say my 2 years of coming here. Yeah. Because 2-3 years ago, it was non-existent.
Cash only, baby.
Right. But now we actually had Dealer Makers on Saturday. We had a speaker, Ruben. He's been doing some commercial deals, he said, and offering financing. So I think it seems like it's getting a little bit better now. Yeah. So yeah, we're excited for after a decade, and the building's been performing, and we either refinance or sell. We're not even penciling in that upside, and then that makes your return
absolutely right
even higher.
Let's say that again, because I think this is a really key point. So we're investing in value add properties, buying them at a use that is no longer really viable, going to value add and turn it into its highest and best use. So we have instant equity, massive cash flows, sometimes 40% tax credits if we do it inside of tourism, and oh, by the way, the island has kind of been down here for a long time, so it has tons of growth that we can expect. Whereas if you contrast that to Buffalo or to Orlando, Florida, we've already had this huge growth. So over the next 10 years, you won't get nearly the amount of appreciation in most instances. You usually don't have the kind of instant massive change in cash flows and stuff. You'll grow steadily.
Right.
But Puerto Rico just puts all of these great different reasons to invest in one little spot, 100 miles by 30 miles wide. And by the way, we're surrounded by beautiful oceans and have beautiful mountains. It's just a great place to be right now. And so we invite you guys.
Absolutely.
Come on over.
Yep. And watch some of his videos and you'll learn a lot. I mean, what do you guys have now? Hundreds of videos, 500-600 videos probably.
When you count the shorts, we have a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
They showed me that I could just click my day and do it like 1 minute at a time. And so I'm putting out 4 or 5 a day. And hopefully people are getting value out of that.
It's a free education.
Yeah.
Value, absolutely. It's an education in real estate.
Anytime I see something cool, I'm just like, oh, look at this, And,
Yeah, my advice to anybody starting out in, Puerto Rico, in real estate as a whole, get on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's watch guys like Robbie, and it's a free college class or a whole semester, we'll say.
Well, I surely appreciate you saying that, and I hope that we give value with the channel. I mean, that's obviously what we're trying to do. So if you guys are liking this, give us a thumbs up on the channel here. Hit the like button for us. It really does help the YouTube channel and gets it out to more people. So, yeah. What else should we talk about? Is there something that we haven't hit on yet?
Oh, you want to talk about Caguas a little bit?
I think we should.
Yeah, because you're involved in that on the debt side.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. We should probably talk about how creative everybody on the island has become.
Yeah.
Buyers, sellers, because of the lack of lending here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not uncommon when you're talking about the deal to just immediately go to how much do you need down? Not even will you finance? Somebody's financing. If you're doing a deal, it's what do you need down?
Right.
Right? Because I mean that's how deals are made on this island.
Oftentimes, because
cash.
you don't have the liquidity that you would have stateside by the banks,
right.
you either are putting together syndications and bringing people together to get the cash, or you're expecting the seller to become the bank.
Right.
And on our side, we've done both. Like we've bought things where we're partnering with the seller. We've got a beautiful project in Rincon that's a trailer park and a guest house and a house and some upcycled shipping containers.
I've been there.
You've been there.
I've been there.
And it's beautiful.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right on the water. Yeah.
And the way that came about was I needed some parking for the house that I had. I was going to put some shipping containers there.
Yep.
And so my son actually goes over and talks to the guy and says, hey, can we rent some parking from you? And he's like, no. And we talk and we went back and forth for maybe a day or two, and at some point, pretty quickly though, he says, I can't give you any parking, I can't rent anything to you, but I'll sell you the whole thing. And so we're like, okay, Mario, what's that mean? You'll sell us the whole thing? And we came up with a purchase price and a down payment, and then we give him some monthly rents. Basically, it's he's holding the mortgage, he's the bank for us, and we get to build the cash flow out, and it's increasing pretty rapidly. It's really a fun project. And that's, to your point, what this island has to offer.
Right.
That maybe wouldn't have happened for us back in Florida. It might not be something that's so easy to do in Buffalo, New York.
It is not. Yeah.
Yep. It can be done. So,
sure.
So
We've
seller
done it
finance,
before,
creative stuff happens everywhere. But the creativeness and the willingness to work together is on a next level here in Puerto Rico. At least that's what we've seen. So let's talk about Caguas.
Sure.
We did a Caguas deal where I had a building that we bought pretty well, and we just were sort of sitting on it, waiting for it to climb up the line to be the next most important thing that we needed to tackle.
Yep.
And Zachary and I started talking about it, and he said, I think I can put together this group. And he said, who should I do that with? And we talked about you guys, and then we did a mastermind, and Sati came in and we just talked with Sati. So you guys can watch Sati's video next after this one. We'll leave it below. So Zachary gets with you guys, puts together a group, and we did some pretty long, intense negotiations kind of back and forth. And, so why don't you tell your side of the story and how that came about?
So originally, that was supposed to be commercial on the first floor, which that we are leaving. It'll be a restaurant. It's 2 levels, beautiful, about 3,000 square feet roughly down there. And the top floors were going to be 7 apartments. And we were penciling it out, and you just get such a better return if you can change the use to Airbnbs, hotel, anything with tourism, right?
Anything with tourism.
Right.
Even if you don't get tax credits, your Airbnb, your nightly rate, let's not call it Airbnb, but your nightly rate is going to be much greater than a monthly rental rate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then we started working with, some designs to say, okay, what would we change if we were trying to do a hotel?
Yeah.
And, Zach had some great renderings. You've seen those.
They're
and,
beautiful.
Yeah.
If you build that, it's like if you build it, they will come, right?
Absolutely.
This is going to be gorgeous.
Yep. Another thing that I like about that property, worst building on the street.
Easily. Anybody can see it, right? Like,
Yes.
it's so obvious. You're like, hey, this whole block has been done. What the hell is that?
Exactly. And I love that, because you only got up to go.
You only have up to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody's made money with that building in a decade, probably.
Right.
And so there's no history or data to try and guess at what it would have rented for or anything. I mean, you're really just you're building a business there. And you can model it out and figure out what you're going to make on your investment by changing the use from, a mixed use building that's stayed vacant for 10 years versus whether it's apartments, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's a hotel.
Right. And also we're kind of excited about the possible midterm because, let's say we're not, thrilled with the numbers that we're getting out in Caguas for nightly rates, occupancy, and all that. There is a couple hospitals in the area, a couple colleges in the area. And, we could always, I'm very agile, I'll say, in business and real estate. And, I kind of, push that upon the partners that if we do partner, we should be agile, and if we have to adapt, if something's not going quite our way. And so as a security blanket, we'll call it, you have that option for midterm rentals.
Yeah, and you're in at a price point that it works. All of these levels work, right? Like the numbers work if it's just housing. The numbers work if it's Airbnb or nightly, and they really, really work when you start getting 40% tax credits back and it becomes a guest house.
Absolutely.
And so you did one other thing with this where you're building it in up front. The ability actually on the back end, if you needed to pivot, you could sell them as condos. And you're developing your building in a way that you'll be able to have highly desirable condominiums.
Right.
Granted, there'll only be 7 of them, but still, your price point that you're going to be in at versus what you can sell them at, it gives you an extra out.
Right. And that's what we like, the outs. Just in case something changes, we're in this for the long haul. So, who knows what'll happen in 10 years.
Absolutely.
And it's good to have outs. It's good to have.
Definitely good to have the outs.
It's good to have options.
Yeah, we call it being able to pivot, right?
Yes.
Like, so you can pivot into this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
They'll all work.
Right.
Hopefully something will stick and you guys will make a bunch of money and have a good time. The other thing is you're able to create jobs. You're able to improve the neighborhood. Like I was over there with Zachary the other day with the mastermind.
Yep.
And these girls have a coffee shop. And I walk in the coffee shop and there's like 3 girls in there. Zachary this, Zachary that, Zachary. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, I said, can I get a coffee? They're like, yeah, Zachary paid for it. I'm like, okay, I know. So he's doing a good job of introducing himself to the neighborhood, letting the neighborhood know that hopefully he's sending his crew over there every day to get a sandwich or whatnot. And he certainly brought a busload of people that day to a small coffee shop in the middle of Caguas. And he was very popular for it. Yeah,
I went the other day and they really do appreciate it. When they saw Zach, they really did appreciate it. All of his guys are going over there that he's got a crew about 10 on a regular basis, 5-6 days a week.
Yep.
And employing them, going, then the local
all of that stuff helps
everything.
A small area like that, right? Like when we're talking about like a half of a block area,
right,
that they're in. There's not really anything but this coffee shop, maybe a Ferreteria, and you're probably giving some commerce to both of those businesses.
Right.
I would guess.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So that's just exciting to see. I like to watch that. I liked it the other day that we were there with Sati, and Sati's showing me what you guys are going to build, and the fact that you guys have a different design and idea really than I did, right? Like I bought the building because it was cheap. I'm a opportunist and I bought it. Didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was just like, it's a big building. I can buy it for not a lot of money. Let's buy it.
Right.
And then you guys actually come and put together the plan and start to build out this stuff and start to improve neighborhoods and give people jobs and stuff. So I kudos for that. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. And short amount of time, they've really just started, about 4 weeks ago, really working on it. They got a lot done.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were when it was the first stop after we got off the plane on Friday was to go look at the building, and I came down with Pat this time, and we were both very surprised on how much work has gotten done already. So yeah,
I was surprised. Yeah, I was
progress.
there a couple days before that, so I think I was there on Tuesday, and I was surprised because it's only been 25 days or something since we closed. It was right before the new year, and maybe it's been 30 days at this point, but it's really fast. You guys have permits in hand. You guys have done demolition. You've got the bottom cleaned up. You got a crane on site. It looks like things are moving. Something else that you guys have done, and maybe I'm sure you know this has happened, but I want to tell you that it's a really big thing. You guys have a tourist conceptual endorsement approval in hand, and you haven't owned it a month. That's freaking phenomenal.
I know.
Phenomenal. Really.
Kudos to Zach on that one. I mean, unbelievable, right?
It's really good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that takes the value of your property, whatever it was, having that in hand probably doubles the value of your building, right? Like if you guys wanted to, at this point, sell the dream on to the next person, you probably could double your money.
Yep.
Yeah.
You give them that piece of paper and, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's another options. You have
That's
options.
right.
If you ever needed them, they're there.
Yeah. I don't see that happening in this case.
Either, yeah. We're already in pretty deep, so I don't see that happening either. Yeah, we're excited about that one. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was great.
What else have you looked at on this trip? You seen anything that's interesting?
I did. I saw which I've never done, whether it's here or Buffalo, student rentals. So instead of renting by the apartment, it's by the room. Okay. Over in Autoré.
Right.
I think it was about 11 rooms that were rented. It was realistically, it's a 3 or 4 unit if you were to break it up into apartments.
Okay.
But how they do it is they just, you get 3 people in, a 3-bedroom, and everybody pays X. You know, so you're renting by the bedroom, and that, just like with the nightly rates, much higher return, much higher revenue.
Yeah.
Obviously, more wear and tear. Normally, sometimes with kids, and I guess that'd be wear and tear also. But you do have them moving out every trimester.
Yeah.
So it is just like an Airbnb, just like a short-term rental, more work. But higher returns.
Higher returns, more work, higher returns. Yep. Yeah. And so I know the area. We've got a building near there that we're looking at right now that hopefully Zachary showed you, because maybe we call it our new monster. It's a 18,000 square foot disaster, just the way we need it, right? That's what we love.
Funny story about that.
Yeah.
I saw it yesterday.
Okay.
You gave Zach the lockbox code. We did a tour. So we pull up to it. And I go, I know this building. I actually looked at it about probably the time I came back to meet with you.
Okay.
We ended up seeing it online. It was one of the few that was listed, actually online. I think Christensen had it at the time. And we ended up seeing it. At that time, we weren't partnered with you.
Yeah.
Way too big of a project. I mean, upstairs is, needs everything.
Right.
And it, like you said, it's a monster, 18,000 square feet. So much too big of a project for us to take on if we don't have boots on the ground.
Right.
And back then, I think it was a lot more expensive than what you bought it for.
Yeah, if it was Christensen, and I think I remember looking at it back then when they had it, they were at 550. Yep. I think.
That's, I think, when we looked at it, right around there, 500.
Yeah. And that was 550 2 years ago was really expensive, right? Like that. we have gotten much more proud on things here on the island over the last couple of years. Prices have definitely been on the rise.
Yeah.
But so something that was priced at $550 2 years ago, probably if Christensen did it again, they'd kick it up maybe $200,000 or something. Like
Right.
Things have just gotten a lot more expensive, and we're buying it again pretty well. We've built so far 4 different avenues that we can go that will all be profitable, and we're trying to figure out which way we're going to go. And then we'll probably, once we hone in on it, we'll come talk to you guys
Right.
and see if you are interested in doing something with us.
Yeah, so I do know that building quite well. And one thing I do like about it is ground floor has 2 existing leases that are paying, I believe.
So it's 2 businesses, but 1 person paying the lease, and we're bringing in about $1,000 a month. It's on a month to month, and they're using about a quarter of the space down there. One of the things I really liked about it is that at the price point that we're getting it at, if we just renovate the downstairs, which is a much easier renovation than the upstairs, we can get it to where it cash flows at a really good number, and then go do something tourist on the upstairs, or do a youth hostel, or even make it apartments. It could be anything at all, but I think that you can get part of it cash flowing for the whole thing while you build out the rest.
Which that's what I like, even with our project over at 607 and 609.
Yeah.
What I love is how quickly can a project break even.
Right.
And not cost the group money.
Right. That's right.
How quickly can you get to 0?
That's right.
Yeah, because that's important.
That's really
Otherwise,
important.
you're just your burn rate just,
Yeah.
clock ticks,
Yep. And we've learned the hard way on some of this stuff where you're buying, they're great deals, but it's complete value add. And if it takes you 2 years, really screws up your cash flow numbers. Even if you get a massive number in year 3 or year 2.5, you've basically done nothing for 2 years. So now when you look at the end of year 3, your return on investment is down under double digits, which is just awful for Puerto Rico, right? Like, we don't like anything that's under like 20%.
Right. Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Right.
We're talking stupid numbers.
Oh,
it's okay sometimes for it to take a year to get there, knowing that there's 20% returns ongoing.
Sure.
Is fine. But sometimes these value add things can take longer.
Yeah.
So we like to look at, right now we're looking at and like to look at stuff that does what you said. It at least sort of breaks even, or we have a path forward to get to break even much quicker. So we've learned that, right? Like we figured that out because we're doing different stuff now than we did when we came to the island.
Right. I remember when you first got here, you were just single family homes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just came here to buy some cheap houses and sell them to FHA buyers. We knew that there was a massive need for housing after Maria, and that worked really well. And we probably should have continued to do it, but we saw other things, and we basically play Monopoly for a living. I mean, the island started offering us these hotel projects, and they're too good to be true. They're too good to pass up. And so we stopped buying the $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, $30,000 houses, and now we're
trading them in for a hotel.
And now we're buying hotels. Yeah. And it's great. And I see what's going to be in the future. I'd love to look out 5 or 10 years.
Right.
Because 5 or 10 years looks really, really good.
Just everything that you've bought, you know, over 5 or 10 years just keeps, keeps growing. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. Robbie, great talking to you today.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And if anybody wants to contact me, if they have any questions, they're thinking about coming down, I'd be happy to reach out with any, questions, or if anybody just wants to talk, or if you had anybody that was thinking about doing a deal and they wanted to know who you really are, and and you guys just contact me. You'll put a link in the show notes, I'm sure, and you shoot me an email.
We'll put your email out there. I appreciate that. So anybody who's in upstate New York or really all over New England, if you want to know what's going on in Puerto Rico, get a hold of this guy and talk to him. And if you want to possibly come to Puerto Rico the next time he's coming, I'm sure he doesn't mind bringing people with him.
I don't mind. And if you do live by me in upstate New York, just get in contact and we'll go have coffee, we'll go have lunch, and talk real estate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this was great, man. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll do it again next time you're here.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great.